Hi everyone, welcome to, in my opinion, today we're going to be talking about bad government programs or good programs that are terribly run. I'm going to make this a two-part video because it's going to be longer than I'd like. I know this is a very controversial topic, but we're going to start with DEI and affirmative action. I'm not going to really differentiate between the two. Even though different in design, they end up having similar outcomes. I'm just going to talk about them as if they were one thing. They have been in the media lately, so we might as well talk about why they are such a potential problem. Back in the 60s when affirmative action started, I suppose it was coming from a good place. But if you want to change discrimination against race, gender, age, disabilities, or whatever else, why would you think discriminating against other people would be a good idea? How exactly did anyone think that would fix the problem? That is just what I consider a textbook definition of discrimination. You cannot solve discrimination with discrimination. How this was passed by hundreds or thousands of people in our government is a very scary thought. If you want to change something, you need to start at its root cause, which is a concept our government still can't seem to understand today. Was there discrimination in our country? Yes, of course, when there were slaves. But slavery was abolished in the 1800s. After that it took some time, to be fair, a very long time, for discrimination to go away, but it has been 160 years now. I'm sure it was a huge transition, from people thinking of blacks as slaves to the next day seeing them live in a free society. I personally don't think that type of discrimination exists in the US anymore, at least I don't see it. Are there some sporadic cases out there? Yes. So how do we fix this problem? The Civil Rights Act in the 60s was a start. It basically said that everybody needs to be treated as equals. Unlike affirmative action that said a certain race would receive something because of that race, which is classic discrimination, I don't think it's a problem that really needs to be addressed nowadays, but there are a few things that should have been done before and can still be done now. Everybody being treated as equals, I believe, starts in our education system. Another huge problem I believe we need to address in a later video. If the government is going to force an education on all people, which I believe they should, that forced education needs to be equal throughout society. Now I think this should only be through high school. If somebody wants to further their education beyond that, they can pursue it on their own, making themselves a better hiring aspect in the workplace. When it comes to public schools, all schools should be the same no matter what neighborhood they are in. All public schools should have the same type of funding. With the exception of extra funding for schools that have kids with special needs. Now, will all schools be exactly the same? No, it's hard to expect a school in a small town to be the same as in a large city. It may differ as far as how many types of classes are offered. Obviously, the bigger the school, the more selection of elective classes they can have. As far as curriculum in English, history, math, science, and PE, those types of core classes should all be the same. The same quality of teachers with the same pay, the same quality of classrooms with the same supplies. There are going to be people smarter than others, so we still need accelerated program classes. Not everybody is the same. You can't expect a very smart person to be held back because of slower people in the class. The same as you can't expect a person with learning disabilities to stay up with a very gifted student, but the offer of higher education needs to be available to everyone. People in a low-income neighborhood need to have the class appearance, quality of teacher, and offering of a good education the same as in a wealthy neighborhood. Addressing teacher quality and hiring practices is crucial for the success of our education system. Ensuring that teachers are well qualified and passionate about their roles can make a significant difference in student outcomes. I know some people in the teaching industry, and it is amazing to me how many bad teachers are out there. They're just simply there to collect the paycheck, completely taking advantage of the job by taking every day off that they can and then some. Most of them are protected, not hardly even being able to be fired. I believe in any job you should be fired if you are not doing your job properly without legal ramifications. Proper basic education, I believe, is where it starts for us to all be treated equal. Now what you do with your life beyond that is completely up to you. There are plenty of grants, scholarships, and government-assisted programs to help with college for people with lower incomes. So, some people are going to be doctors, some people are going to work in retail or any other type of job. You can't expect everybody to be a doctor or a lawyer or some high-paying job like that. Everybody is different. We are not all cut out to do the same job. We all have different ambitions and different motivations in life. We can't all be expected to take the same path in life. Now, going back to discrimination, do I think companies should be able to hire anybody they want at any time? Absolutely. Should the company or government be forced to hire someone just because of their skin color, race, age, or any other thing? No, it doesn't make any sense. A company needs to hire the best qualified person for the job, and that should be at their own discretion. Hiring by a quota or by some sort of set rules is not only discriminatory but potentially very dangerous. We just need to think about what is good for the people as a whole and not just to include certain people because they're feeling excluded. DEI has been in the news because of multiple plane crashes. Not saying any of them were caused by DEI, but it's definitely something to think about. I personally don't care who anybody is that's flying the plane, but it's a scary thought knowing that airlines are hiring with this DEI type of practice. As far as I'm concerned, if they found out that the best pilots there are a certain race of people that are female, between the ages of 25 and 30, and between 5'2" and 5'3", then in my opinion, that should be the only pilots that we hire. Now obviously that's not the case, but my point is a company should simply hire whoever is most qualified for the job, period. Does that mean some people are going to have a hard time getting a particular job? Yes, but it won't be because of race, gender, or anything else. It will be because of their lack of qualification or skill in that position. When it comes to planes and you see a person of color or a female, even though I'm sure they are normally very qualified people, because of DEI, it does make you wonder why they were hired. With even the NTSB saying aircraft accidents are 70 to 80% human error. And having done a lot of research on this topic, I actually believe it to be closer to 90%. It is a very scary thought thinking we're not hiring the most qualified people out there. Although not as noteworthy, Cash for Clunkers was a program that I believe shouldn't have ever existed. In my opinion, even though they tried to sell it as more of an environmental program. I believe it was simply a way to prop up the struggling new car industry. This program cost the taxpayers billions of dollars. I believe there had to be a payoff to the government from the new car industry to make this happen. It essentially made cars new and old more expensive. New car dealerships weren't willing to haggle because the customer already got a rebate from getting rid of their old car. Used car dealerships raised their prices 15 to 20% due to lack of supply. My other problem, and I believe the biggest problem with the program, was simply destroying perfectly good cars that still had many years to give. If the government wants to help with the environment, just stick with fixing the root cause. Regulations were already set on newer cars to be more environmentally friendly and fuel efficient. Why didn't they let the old cars weed themselves out naturally, not put a financial burden on the country, and irresponsibly destroy approximately 700,000 perfectly good cars? I would assume that the environmental effect of destroying and recycling cars prematurely would cause more pollution than just leaving them on the road. How does our government make so many bad decisions, or is it just corruption? And if it is, how are we going to fix it? How can we put checks and balances in our government to make sure corrupt politicians are not getting paid off by corrupt companies? I believe DOGE is a great place to start. Even though a lot of people are against it, I can't wrap my head around why unless they have something to hide. From what I see so far is a lot of wasted spending and corruption being uncovered, and I just don't know how anybody could have a problem with that. I will get into DOGE on a different video. My goal is to get a video out once a week or more. Please like and subscribe and leave comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you're interested in how I make these videos, I left a link below in the description for InVideo AI. It's a very easy site to use and it will help my channel out. Thanks for watching.